My name is Ethan Miller, and I was born on the same piece of land my grandfather plowed with his own hands. Our family farm sat just beyond the town limits of Maple Creek, 50 acres of rolling fields, oak groves, and a red barn that had seen 3 generations of sunrises. It wasn't much to outsiders, a few cows, a chicken coop, and a wide meadow that glowed gold every autumn, but to me, it was home. It smelled of hay and rain-soaked soil. It sounded like crickets at night and the hum of tractors in the morning. It was steady, patient, and kind, like the people who once tended it. When my parents passed, I stayed. I kept the place running, alone, with no plans of selling. The world was changing fast around me, condos, gas stations, shiny new roads, but I wanted the old rhythm of life to stay. I believed some things shouldn't be touched. Then one morning, that belief was tested in the worst way. The letter. It came in a white envelope, stamped with the town seal and the words, "Notice of Land Requisition." I remember standing at my mailbox, the air still cool from dawn, and reading that my property, my family's land, had been reclassified for community recreational development. In plain words, the town council had voted to convert my farm into a public dog park. I laughed at first. It sounded absurd, a mistake, surely. But when I drove into town, I saw the flyers already posted. Coming soon, Maple Creek Dog Haven, a community space for our furry friends. And right there, printed on glossy paper, was a picture of my land, the meadow, the oak grove, even the barn. They hadn't even asked me. The meeting. I went straight to the council meeting that night. The room smelled like old wood and coffee. 5 members sat behind a long table, shuffling papers like I wasn't even there. When they finally called my name, I stood up, holding the notice in my hand. "You can't just take my farm," I said quietly. "This land's been in my family for 70 years. Councilwoman Brooks adjusted her glasses. "We're not taking it, Mr. Miller. We're repurposing it. The community needs more open spaces. Dog owners have nowhere to go." "It's not open space," I said, trying to stay calm. "It's private property. My home." Her lips tightened. "You'll be compensated at market value." Compensated. As if the scent of tilled earth, the echo of my father's voice, or my mother's wildflowers could be traded for a check. I looked around the room. Most of the people there were strangers, new residents, families who'd moved in from the city. To them, the farm was just empty land, unused potential. And in their eyes, I was the stubborn old farmer standing in the way of progress. The silence that followed. A month later, bulldozers arrived at the edge of my fence line. They didn't come onto the property, not yet, but the message was clear, the project was approved. I fought it, of course. Hired a lawyer. Filed appeals. But the council had already sold the story to the papers, a better future for Maple Creek. Public opinion was against me. Neighbors I'd known for years stopped waving. A few said it was selfish of me to hold on to land no one used anymore. They didn't understand, or maybe they didn't care. Every night, I'd sit on the porch with my dog, Rusty, an old border collie with cloudy eyes, and listen to the distant hum of engines. The horizon glowed faintly orange from construction lights. Rusty would rest his head on my knee, and I'd whisper, "They think this land is empty, boy. But they don't see what's buried here." I wasn't talking about treasure. I meant memories. The kind you can't measure or move. The decision. It was Rusty's passing that changed everything. He went quietly one morning, under the big oak near the pasture. I buried him there, beneath the roots that had held my family's swings since childhood. When I came back inside, the phone was ringing. It was the council again, cheerful voices announcing they'd finalized the timeline for the dog park. That's when something in me hardened. For years, I'd believed in patience, in kindness, in doing things the right way. But kindness had gotten me nothing but loss. That night, I sat with maps spread across my kitchen table. County property records, auction listings, old deeds and foreclosures. And by dawn, I had a plan. The trap. 2 months later, I signed the papers. Not for my farm, I couldn't save that. But I bought every acre of land surrounding it. To the north, a wooded lot that bordered the main access road. To the west, an old orchard the city had long ignored. To the south, a narrow stretch of land with a single-lane bridge. And to the east, the hillside path that hikers used on weekends. Piece by piece, I sealed off every way in or out. By the time the council realized what I'd done, the sale was complete. My lawyer had handled it quietly, through shell names and private bids. The town had no clue who the new owner was, not until I showed up at their next meeting with a folder of deeds. "You can have your dog park," I said, setting the folder on the table. "But you'll have to reach it first." They stared at me in silence. I went on, slow and steady. "I own the land around it now. Every access road, every trail, every fence line. Without my permission, there's no legal entrance to your park." You could hear a pin drop. Councilman Reeves leaned forward. "That's blackmail." "No," I said calmly. "It's boundaries. The fallout. Word spread quickly. By summer, the construction crews were gone. The sign announcing, "Maple Creek Dog Haven," stood half buried in weeds. The town tried to negotiate, offered me money to build new access routes, but I refused. I wasn't cruel about it. I just said no. The land around my farm became quiet again. The roads turned to gravel. The fences were mended, and the wild grass grew back where the machines had left scars. Sometimes I'd see families drive up, confused by the locked gates and the "private property" signs. They'd check their maps, turn around, and leave. It wasn't revenge I wanted. It was peace. And for the first time in years, I had it. The visit. One evening, as the sky turned pink, Councilwoman Brooks herself came out to see me. She parked by the mailbox and walked the long dirt path to my porch. "I suppose you're satisfied," she said. Her tone was tired, not angry, more like someone who finally understood the cost of pride. I offered her a seat and poured some coffee. I didn't want a fight, I told her. Just respect. All they had to do was ask. She looked out across the field, the same meadow they'd planned to cover with dog runs and picnic tables. "It's beautiful here," she whispered. "It always was," I said. "But beauty doesn't mean much to people in a hurry." For a while, we sat without speaking. The cicadas hummed in the distance. Then she stood, brushing dust from her skirt. "I'll tell them to close the project," she said. "Officially this time." And she did. The years after, life went back to something simple. The farm wasn't big anymore, just enough for a few animals and a vegetable patch, but that was fine. I repaired the barn roof, painted the fence, and built a small wooden bench under Rusty's oak. Every morning, I'd walk the boundary lines, the air cool and quiet, no trucks, no noise, just the land breathing again. Sometimes deer would wander through the tall grass, unafraid. The soil softened, and the scent of clover returned. People in town stopped talking about me after a while. A new subdivision was built farther west, closer to the highway. Progress, as they called it, moved on, but it left my little patch of the world alone. And that was all I ever wanted. The gentle ending. One spring afternoon, a young couple came by the gate. They said they'd heard stories about the man who stopped the dog park. But they weren't there to argue. They just wanted to see the view. So I let them walk up to the ridge, where you could see the whole valley below, the river, the orchards, the light spilling over the hills. The woman smiled. "It's peaceful here." "Peace is earned," I said softly. They nodded, and for a moment I thought of my parents, of Rusty, of all the mornings I'd stood in this same spot watching the sun rise. Land, I realized, isn't just dirt and deeds. It's memory, the quiet kind that keeps you steady when the world tries to move you. When they left, I closed the gate behind them and locked it gently. Not out of spite, but out of care. To keep what mattered safe. That evening, as the crickets began their song, I sat on the porch and looked across the fields. The air was warm, the wind soft, the world still. And for the first time in a long while, I smiled, not out of victory, but out of peace.